Hello guys, in this demo I will be showing how to set up Kubernetes cluster in your local system quickly and easily. So this is my repo for setting up Kubernetes cluster. I will share you the link of this repo in the description. And before we get started, let's discuss about this project. So why did I build this project? Basically, nowadays we are moving into the cloud native world. Like initially it was monolithic and now we're moving to the microservice world. And Kubernetes is great for managing the microservice applications that we all know, right? So to set up and consume the Kubernetes locally, we don't need to provide any of the fees or the amount which cloud providers basically charges. That's why I basically prefer to use the local Kubernetes cluster instead of any cloud. Second part is that now Kubernetes is rolling out new features and we want to try out, experiment some of the features, and we need to learn things related to Kubernetes, all the concepts with hands-on, and do the development and the testing of our application. So making all this requires a Kubernetes clusters, and doing everything locally will be helpful to get onboarded into the Kubernetes and before trying it out in the cloud. Third point is that we can quickly and reliably set up Kubernetes clusters with full automation in our local environment. So it takes hardly 5 minutes to set up your Kubernetes cluster with this code. Uh, Next part is why are we not using any existing tools? That is, there are tools available in the market like Minikube and K3s, and there are a lot of. But why are we going with this tool? So what I personally find is that the tools which are available are having some wrappers. So they basically do internal multiple binary calls and multiple scripts they run in their system so that they create the Kubernetes clusters. And whenever we need to do any kind of modifications or we want to do any kind of customizations, we are unable to do that, or it is very much tough for us to do that. But with this script, it is written with shell script, and you can easily do the customization and modification as per your need. And in Minikube, let's suppose there are already features that if you want a dashboard, if you want Nginx, whatever the plugins you want or the add-ons, you can just enable it with one command. But the real challenges come is that when things started crashing or you need to upgrade your that tool, that feature, that is maybe dashboard, maybe metal LP. So those things, it becomes a little bit difficult is because those are like managed by Minikube and you just enabled it. But in this system, you have to deploy it by your own, manage by your own, so that it will be easy for you to understand how the things are working internally instead of going to like pre-built things. Okay, so these are the reasons for setting up this project. And to run this project, there are the requirements. Okay, so we are setting up the Kubernetes clusters with the help of Virtualbox. Okay, this VirtualBox is used for managing the virtual machines in your system. So I have opened up this VirtualBox. I'm using VirtualBox version 7.0, and it is 7.0.10, and I'm using Vagrant to manage the virtual machines inside this VirtualBox. So if we see Vagrant-v, this is the latest Vagrant I have installed in my system. And after you are done with the installation of VirtualBox and Vagrant, we need to do the environment setup, right? So this project requires some of the environment configurations to get started. Okay, so let me show you. You need to add one line in your bash RC file to enable the additional feature of Vagrant. So let me open up the bash.rc file. So inside bash.rc, you just need to add experiment factored experimental equals to disk. So this addition of this line will let the Vagrant to customize your disk through the Vagrant file. So I'm using disk configuration in the Vagrant file. So for that, we need to add this line. Now let's start with the practical, like how we can set up the Kubernetes clusters. After you come to this repo, you need to clone this code. I'm cloning it my IDE. You can simply type git clone in your terminal to get this project downloaded. And let me clone this project. So meanwhile, this project is being cloned. If you see this Vagrant file over here, we are using the IP addresses. So these IP addresses are coming from the CIDR range of the network which we need to configure inside the VirtualBox. So this is my VirtualBox. I have come to the tools, and over here I can create multiple networks, and similarly one network is created, that is VirtualBox net 0, and it is using this IP range. Okay, you can do the same thing, that a VirtualBox network is created, and these IPs are coming from this VirtualBox network CIDR. Okay, this is the IP of my master node, and these are the IPs of my two worker nodes. If you want to add more workers, you can take the IP from that CIDR and attach it into the list. And similarly, you can put the number of workers. This is the number of master nodes. This is the CPU of master and the worker, and this is the number of master and the worker nodes. You can increase the number of worker nodes, but not the master node, because this is not a HA Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so we have cloned this repo, and after this repo is being cloned, we need to do is that download the Vagrant box. Okay, so there is a command to download Vagrant box. You can get this command Vagrant box add. Let me show you like this. Yeah, this is the command. You can get it through the readme file and run it. So this is optional part, but I prefer to download my Vagrant box before initialize the virtual machine, because virtual machine uses this Vagrant box as an image to start the virtual machine. So if you run this, you will get a different window that it is downloading around 1.8 GB of VirtualBox, and as I have already downloaded, it is saying that it is already added in my system. So I can run Vagrant box list. You can see this is my box. It is for VirtualBox and it is having version 1.0. After your box is downloaded, we will use this box to initialize our Kubernetes cluster, and to do that, we can run this Vagrant file. Okay, now we are at the project directory. One more configuration file we need to do is that add these IP addresses to our etc host so that it is getting resolved. Okay, so we can do etc host and add the master and the worker nodes. Like master is dot 100, you can see dot 100 is master and worker is 110 and 120. So similarly, you can also add your host resolve configuration into this etc hosts. So these are all the prerequisites to get started with this project, and after all it is done, we can start our Kubernetes cluster creation. Okay, so uh, let me start the Kubernetes cluster creation. I am at my project directory. If I run Vagrant status, Vagrant status, it will show that plugin, that is Vagrant disk and Vagrant host manager, is not installed. I will install these two plugins, and then I can find that this plugin installation process will create .vagrant folder, and inside it these two plugins will be installed. It will take some time to get the plugins downloaded and installed. So meanwhile, you can see that in my Virtualbox there is one mini cube. It is power off state, and if I run kubectl get nodes, there are no currently running nodes in my system. Okay, oh, there is no server running in my system, and you can see that .vagrant folder has been created and all the plugins has been downloaded. If I run Vagrant status again, you will see that I'm having three nodes, one master, two workers. Those are not created yet. And when I run Vagrant up command, it will start creating our Kubernetes cluster. So meanwhile, our clusters is getting created. It will take around 4 to 5 minutes to get our clusters up and running. Let me quickly go through this file. So the Vagrant box which we have downloaded, we have mentioned it over here. That is the image name and the version. And NW is the number of worker nodes. If we want to increase the number of worker nodes, we will increase this value and add the IP addresses over here. So if you want to run one worker node, you can simply modify it to run one. That instead of two, you can provide one. And number of masters will be always one, because we are not running HA Kubernetes cluster. So that's why our number of master will be always one. These are the naming which we are providing. Masters will be provided the name that is master only, and workers will be provided as worker one and worker two, like that. This is the CPU of master node. So how many CPUs we are giving? So for master we are giving 4 CPUs, and number of CPUs for the worker is 2 over here. That is, for each worker we are giving 2 CPUs. This is the memory, how much memory we are giving to master and the worker. And hard disks, that is 20 CPU of storage we are providing to all the VMs. And this is the IP which I have said already. So these are the configurations. Basically, you need to check based on your system. Uh, Primarily, these 4 lines, that if you want, if your system is not having high configuration, maybe you are running 8 GB of memory, then you can reduce the memory. And if you are having CPU with lower configurations, you can update it from 4 master CPUs to 2 master CPUs, and uh, from worker CPUs to you can reduce it one, but I recommend that make it at least 2 CPUs for each of the node. And this is all the configurations you need to check, and rest of the code will take the values from this configurations file. Okay, I think my one master and 2 worker VMs are up, and it is getting ready. And you can see that this kubeconfig file is being generated. You need to copy this kubeconfig file in your home directory .kube /config. You need to copy it so that you can get access to this cluster. So you can see my Vagrant took 2 minutes 45 seconds to get the cluster initialized. And while this cluster initializing, you may see that there are a number of red lines are getting printed, number of greens. you may consider that these red lines are any error. So basically these are not error. So my ID is showing something like a different color coding. Don't go into it. And how to verify that uh, the cluster setup which we did is correctly configured or not. So for that we can SSH into our Vagrant node. So we can do Vagrant SSH master. So it will SSH into our master node, and we can do kubectl get nodes. You can see that three of my nodes are already configured and it has started just few minutes. So kubectl get pods hyphen a, you can see few of the containers are getting created and rest is getting started. So I'm running these kubectl commands from the master node, not from my host machine. So to run your kubectl command from your host machine, you need to make sure that kubectl is installed in your system. So I have installed kubectl in my system. Yeah, you can see that client is installed kubectl. Okay, and I have written another script which it will do is that it will SSH passwordless into our three nodes, that is one master and two workers, as well as it will copy the kubeconfig file from this place to home slash dot cube slash config. And while copying, if there is any existing kubeconfig file, it will merge the kubeconfig file into the existing kubeconfig file. So let me run this script. And if you run the script, you may get errors like SSH pass is not present. So in that case, you need to install SSH pass, or you may get that host is not available. So you need to make sure that etc host, that is etc hosts, is configured properly so that it is resolvable. Okay, so you can see the standard output that my kubeconfig file is showing as it is merged. And when I come to the terminal, kubectl get nodes, you can see my nodes are already running and it has been almost 5 minutes. kubectl get pods A, all my pods are running well, and it has been only few minutes. Basically, maximum it took like around 5 minutes to get the pods up and running. So by this way, you will get your running Kubernetes cluster in your local system. And if you want that your memory is getting high, okay, so maybe you are having this configuration. So in that case, what you can do is that you can stop any of your machine, right? So for stopping machine, come to the project home directory and you can run vagrant called worker one. So you can stop any of the worker. I'm stopping worker one, but don't stop master because it will put your Kubernetes cluster in offline state. And after worker is stopped, you can see the Virtualbox. My worker one has been powered off. And what I can do is that I can reduce the memory of worker to 1.5 GB instead of 2 GB. So all my worker nodes will be switched to this. If I run Vagrant up worker one, so this configuration will take effect and my worker will be starting again with this number of uh, memory. So you can see memory has been released for worker one, and when the worker one starts, it will start consuming the memory again. Yeah, my worker one has started. If you see, it is 1.5 GB, and my worker two is already 2 GB. But if you want to make sure that worker 2 also consumes the same, you need to stop worker 2 and the same process. If you start it again, it will come up with the updated resources. So along this Kubernetes installation, I have installed metric server also. kubectl top nodes. So as my worker is having the metric server has went down, that is worker 2 is not providing the metrics. So let me up my worker 2 again. kubectl get nodes. Okay, my worker 2 PM has started. Okay, kubectl top nodes. You can see metric server is giving the result. By this way, you can get your Kubernetes clusters up and running within 5 minutes. And if you want to stop your Kubernetes clusters, you can run Vagrant halt, and all your VMs will be shut down so that you can start your VM later for other for next activities. So I recommend that before triggering forced shutdown or shutting down your system, turn off all your virtual machines, like I'm doing it now. So you can see all my virtual machines are powered up and it has released the memory. And if you want to your clusters no more, then you can run Vagrant destroy. Or if you want your cluster to come up, you can run the Vagrant up again. So let me show Vagrant up. So what it will do is that it will search that these machines are already existing and it will just straightforwardly power on these virtual machines. And if the machines are not present, it will create those virtual machines for you. It will take few seconds to get your virtual machine up and running. Master has came up. Now worker is getting ready. We can run kubectl get nodes. Okay. Yeah, master is ready. You may see that worker 2 is not ready. It is in power off state, but it is showing ready here because Kubernetes maintains a grace period that it checks continuously for 30 seconds that if the nodes are not come up, it will wait for 30 seconds and make sure that within that period the node has came up, then it will consider it ready. But if it doesn't come up, it will consider it as not ready. I think it is coming up and see the 30 second has passed before worker to come up, then it is marking as not ready. And now we are starting the worker to see when machine is booting state. And yeah, I think machine has been booted. All my three machines are up and running, and you can see all my worker nodes are ready. CTL get pods. I think you can see all my pods are in running state, but few of the pods are not in ready state because just now I have booted my VM and it will take few seconds to get the things up and run. Until you find that all the nodes are in 1 out of 1 or 2 out of 2 states, don't consider that this is a successful cluster creation until you find this. Okay, as I can see, everything is well and good running. You can consider that this is my cluster up and running. Okay, so let's suppose you are doing some all activities and you feel that you messed up, like your cluster is not working as expected. You want to destroy the cluster and recreate it again. You want to recreate a new cluster. Okay, for that you can write kube vagrant destroy -f will forcefully destroy all the VMs which is managed by this Vagrant file. You can see it has force shutting down the VM and destroying the VM. So within few seconds, you will find that all your nodes will be destroyed. You can see. And now I want to create the fresh cluster. The same code will be used. You just need to run vagrant up. It will start creating one fresh cluster for you. Okay, if you see kubectl get pods, because it is trying to connect with the existing Kubernetes, but it is not available because our virtual machines are already destroyed and we are now recreating it. So let's wait some time and let's check that how much time it takes to get our Kubernetes cluster ready this time. So CPU, it has started consuming for master node. Master node is VM has been booted. Now it started initializing the cluster. And these red lines are basically some warnings which you can ignore. Master node came up and this kubeconfig file has been updated. Like after master node comes up, it will be updated. And we can run the script to copy the kubeconfig file to our Kubernetes slash that is under home.kube/config. Worker one has came up and has updated the kubeconfig file. Basically, it has merged the existing kubeconfig file to the new config file, which has been just generated by our master node. And our worker 2 is booting up. You can see memory consumptions are increasing. Okay, and if we type over here kubectl get nodes, you only master and worker is present. Now worker 1 is present because worker 2 is booting. It has not joined the cluster yet. Okay, our script ran successfully. It took 2 minutes 45 seconds also this time. Previously it took around the same time, I guess. And when I do kubectl get nodes, worker 2 has also joined the cluster. It's been around 2 minutes. Wow, worker 2 is not ready yet. It has been 52 seconds. Yeah, within 1 minute you can see worker 2 also came up. Kubectl get pause happen fight will show that one node is coming up. So it is taking around 2.5 or all under 3 minutes. Okay, few of the containers are also starting. Let's wait a few more minutes. can see that all of our pods are in ready state and it is in running until we see that one out of one or two out of two in the ready state. We cannot consider that our cluster is up and running in a proper way. So we need to make sure these ready and running states are present. We can run kubectl top nodes and kubectl top pods because I have installed metric server. We'll get the metric. So if you see that, my bad typo, it takes around less than 5 minutes. You can see that within less than 5 minutes, our cluster is up and running to use. And you can run Vagrant call to stop the cluster. So that's all about this, guys. And if you find any issue, any error, put that in the description of the comments, and I will be trying to solve it. Yeah, you can see all my notes are stopping. I'll use this in next time. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks for watching this video. Hope this is helpful.